3, 2, 1, and record!
Why? Why? Why do you gotta yell?
Welcome to this week's video where we're gonna be talking about landscaping.
What do we tell you about yelling?
Echoing really loud in our newly
Epoxied.
garage. Give him a B-roll of that. Look at that beautiful epoxy. But that's not what today's video is gonna be about. We're gonna talk about landscaping, how we got here, how we ended up spending way more money than Eddie thought, like I told him in this other video, if you guys can see.
Pretty sure you're like, oh, it's not gonna be that expensive. Well, let's just add this, let's add that, let's add this.
You know, you think what's planting a few trees and some grass gonna cost you, but it slowly all adds up. We went the whole 9 yards on this property, which has been a theme. But let's talk about how we ended up here, starting with Mr. Nacho. If you guys recall from this video up here.
I'm sorry, I'm in Mexico. I'm gonna go back to USA right now.
We were trying to get Nacho to finish our irrigation, which at this point Nacho is gone, no longer exists. We hope he's doing well, but we at that point had to find someone else.
So we started looking for other contractors, and we had originally hired someone, agreed with someone to come out here and do all of this for $4,500, I think you wanted.
Yes.
And you'll see why that's laughable at the end of this video when we tell you how much we actually spent.
There's nothing more expensive than cheap. You learn that the hard way. Basically, that contractor showed up. He delayed us like 3 days, said I'm finishing up another job. And then he showed up and he wanted a $2,000 deposit or $2,500, something like that.
You wanted $2,000 up front.
Before he showed up with his guys weren't even here. They were supposed to be in the morning to start working. He showed up at like 11 a.m. and was like, give me $2,000 and I'll show back up with my guys. Sick. That's a great business strategy. We should start a whole business plan.
It was very evident that he wasn't planning on working. He even said, oh, so if my guys come, you'll give me $2,000?
So all he wanted was a $2,000, and that basically led us to interviewing a bunch of different contractors, and we ended up going with the one we saw that fit us best and that could fit our expedited timeline. Throughout this process, we learned a lot of things that had been wrong that we had to fix. So let's just jump right into it and show you guys what we've done here.
So behind us is our valves. Mr. Nacho had set up 4 valves, but we probably needed more.
Mr. Nacho.
I don't know why I called him Mr. Nacho, but since he didn't come back, we found somebody else to come finish this job. One of the important things is we wanted somebody to come here and do all the work, not just the artificial grass, not just the natural grass, not just the irrigation system, everything. So we wanted somebody that can do these things right and pay attention to all the details. Since we don't know what we're doing, we don't exactly know what is needed.
This has been a running theme on this project site, but I think at this point we're about 80% done with the landscaping, and I feel like we made the right choice.
I feel like we made the right choice, but it did cost a lot more than we expected. Let's see some of the details that they paid attention to that we didn't even think of.
So with the irrigation, let's talk about the sprinklers and the drip system. We ended up having to add one more valve, and that was for the extra sprinkler heads. You want to take into account about 6 to 10 sprinkler heads per line depending on your water pressure. Another thing that we learned here is you want to have your water for your irrigation coming before your pressure regulator. That way you can have higher pressure inside of your irrigation and lower pressure inside of your house. Make sure that you fall in line with all of your fire department regulations and the order of things, but that's something that we're going to learn on our next project. This will help you have less valves, which saves you money in the long run. Now, with our sprinkler heads too, something that we didn't necessarily ask for but was included because the level of work and attention to detail that they do is these kick-proof technologies, as I call them. A common problem that I had as a kid is my parents' sprinklers continuously broke. Walker buys, car drives over it, someone kicks it, something, but as you guys can see, no matter how much you kick this, it'll bend, it'll shake, it'll do whatever, but it will not break. That's a great added feature. It costs a little bit more money per sprinkler head, but it's definitely worth it. Another thing that we learned is our drip system. We should have probably had one more drip line, and we should have looped our drip line. Also, there are different types of drip lines, so we're using a different one in the front, which is what our team now is doing versus what Nacho did in the beginning. And you have to make sure to pin down your water lines, which is something that Nacho didn't do, but we're now going to clean up for an extra cost. Other than that, that kind of wraps it up for our irrigation. Let's talk about our grass and choice of grass and location. So we're gonna start by talking about the artificial grass, but as you guys can see, there is a temporary permanent fence here.
Temporary permanent.
Permanent temporary fence. These were problems that we faced with our pool. I think we should be done by next week for that video, so make sure you guys subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll give you guys an update on this. But we did pass our enclosure, which means we can plaster hopefully by the end of this week.
Finally, hopefully. For the artificial grass, we did it in all of our concrete slits that were on our driveway and in our backyard. And we also had artificial grass in our dog run on the side of the house. Now, in between the slits, we only put what's called DG,
decomposed granite.
Decomposed granite.
Basically, our floors are granite floors. It's crazy.
So they put DG in all the artificial slits, but on the dog run side yard, they put a base like gravel. No,
It's called CMD. You remember what that stands for?
CMB.
CMB.
CMB. CMB. It means something.
Put it on screen right here. There we go. That's what it means right there. That's what it means. The CMB, we actually did not use in the slit. We only used it on the side dog run. And the reason for that is over here, because it's a smaller area and there's a lot more nailing down of the artificial grass. Second to final step when you're putting down the artificial grass, they don't want to have those big rocks that'll get in the way of the nails. So they just do a full 3 or 4 inches of the
DG.
The way that they compact in the slits is different than what they compacted on the dog run. The way they compacted here is by putting down a 2x4 and hammering that 2x4 down. And at the end of the day, they watered everything to make sure it sit, came back, added however much more they needed to layer it out perfectly. But most of the spots they did perfect the first time because these guys really know what they're doing. On the side yard, it was a similar step, but it was a 2-day process because they did the CMB on the first day. And then on the second day, they put the decomposed granite on top, leveled, and straightened everything out.
You said this was the second to last step. Was the last step mowing it?
No. So the last step is actually going to be, they're going to flare this out to make sure all of it's sitting up because as you guys saw, it does come in a roll. So all the grass hairs are kind of folded over. So they flare it out and they add silica sand in between so that keeps the grass hairs up. We haven't gone to that step yet, but I know that's something that's going to go down tomorrow along with the natural grass. So let's talk about that. I'm by a slit that we haven't put down the artificial grass in yet because we're gonna do some repair work on this specific slab. But this gives me an opportunity to show you guys a cool thing that I learned. This is the roll. This is not how the rolls come. They slit it down to the 4 inches that they need using the stitching on the grass as their guideline and going all the way down, and they end up with this. All the artificial grass for our project was gifted to us by Dennis Chernoff from the Chernoff team, which is the brokerage that's going to be listing this house. So we're very, very thankful for that because it helped us in a tremendous amount aside from the money. We didn't have to go figure this out, see what we wanted, figure out what's right, what's too expensive, what's not too expensive. So thank you very much, Dennis. But let's go into what we learned about this after the fact for our future projects. Some people like this grass to stick up high. Other people want it to be really, really low and leveled with the concrete. As you can see, ours is a little bit higher. And in order for this to be leveled down, you need to buy different artificial grass. Now, some of you might say, why don't you just do the DG a little bit lower and place this down lower so everything's level and seamless? That sounds great in theory, but the problem that arises is you can see this is not at all sturdy. So what you're gonna end up doing is creating a trip hazard that is blocked by this grass, and everyone's gonna trip and fall constantly. So what you wanna do is buy a different artificial grass that has shorter strands because the depth of the DG in comparison to the concrete height always has to be very, very similar in order to avoid any tripping. Also, you guys can see the nail that they're using here to nail this down. It's a 5 or 6 inch, very thick gauge nail, and they're offsetting it about every 6 inches. So the real grass is going in the front yard, in the backyard, and in our parkway. Unfortunately, that's gonna happen tomorrow, so we're gonna have to continue this video then. We'll wrap up talking about all the plants and everything, and all the bark and mulch and all the other stuff we're doing tomorrow. But we'll see you guys tomorrow when the truck arrives. We're back on a new day, and as you guys saw, the sod's been delivered on a truck. They dropped off, what is it, 2 pallets?
2 pallets, 1,000 square feet of sod, but what we counted was a little bit less. We bought a little extra.
So now we're gonna donate it.
Where are we donating it to?
Hopefully some of our neighbors need sod. But basically, as you guys can see, they offloaded it, they laid it out, and now they're installing it. It's a fun process to watch. We're running a time lapse, so that's gonna look really cool. If you guys see, they just quickly boom, 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 and they're done installing it. But let's talk about some of the prep work. So as you guys can see, they're leveling out, grading, roughing up the dirt here. There was a big tree here that the city removed. Unfortunately, they did not remove the stump fully or grind it down fully. So as you can see, they had to, once they realized that it was a little bit elevated from the elevation that we needed, they chopped it all down, cleaned it down. It's actually in the bucket right here, as you guys can see. And now they're grading it all and getting it prepared for the sod that's just right there, and they're gonna lay out over here as well. I'm gonna jump to Eddie that's gonna talk to you a little bit about how they're laying this out and how it's important to lay it out in a certain way.
So right here you can see the orientation that the sod is laid out. When it first got brought out here, one of the workers laid it out in the opposite orientation, as in vertically, but the boss, El Jefe, pointed out like, hey, we should put this sideways because if you have them all in vertical sections down the slope, water is gonna run in between the joints of the sod. That water runs, it's gonna carry mud with it. You're gonna get mud all over your sidewalk. But if you put it horizontally like this, it'll prevent all the water and mud from getting onto your sidewalk. It just shows you the attention to detail that our contractor is taking on our job sites.
So as we told you guys, we're gonna have a little dog run on the side of the house with artificial grass. And as you can see, when they nail this, it's a little bit different. They're pulling up parts of the grass and seeing where there's loose areas and nailing it down. It's a little bit different than the slits where they do it 6 inches offset on either corner, because we have, I think this is about 30 inches of grass here. But I'm really happy about how this looks. As you guys can see, it's a great place for your dog to run and play. The north side of the house gets a lot more shade than the south side, which is why we decided to put our dog run on the north side of the house. Also on the south side, we had a lot of bump outs for the existing wall, along with the fireplace, which made it less nice of a dog run. So now that all the sod has been laid, we've added the silica sand on the artificial grass, we have the mulch and the planters, all the plants planted, irrigation set up. Now all that's left is paying for this. Do we have to do that?
Unfortunately, we do.
Actually, I would say fortunately in this case. So we added on a couple of extras throughout this process, but I am very happy with the outcome with the sod, landscaping, and everything. Do you agree?
I agree.
What is your complaints?
Why are you saying sod like that?
Like what?
Sod.
All right, so let's jump into the pricing. We started with the quote of $10,800 to complete this job, but from there, things only increased. What were our extras?
So there was a couple things that we did not take into account in the original bid. So one of the things that we had to add on was cleaning up of the ficus trees, the dirt and leaves that have fallen, as well as adding mulch all around it.
So that was an added cost of $900. From there, we also had to add another valve, as we discussed, and that extra valve cost us $650.
We paid $740.22 for all of the sod that we purchased, and $246.18 for all the bend-a-board that we purchased from Home Depot.
Now, what I did realize is we should have just had our landscaping crew purchase all the material. It makes it a lot easier on us, and it would have probably ended up costing us the same, if not less, because they have better places to buy it. That brings our grand total to $13,336.40. We're really happy with the outcome. Now, all that's left is to clean up the final touches in the house and list the property. I know we told you guys we were shooting for May 16th, or what was it?
Sometime in early May.
Unfortunately, we didn't hit that deadline, so we had to push everything back, but that is something that comes with developing real estate, especially when you don't know what you're doing. We have our final inspection starting on Monday, so we should be posting an entire house walkthrough very, very soon. One of the other things that I did want to mention, obviously, we've been really hectic. We've been spending 18 hours a day here pretty much, and we're losing track of our sanity. So unfortunately, I know we're missing a couple of things that were not included in the budget, but like I said, we're gonna do a full rundown of every single cost very soon once we're completely done with the property, once we've sold the property, how much money we made, how much time went into this, how much other costs there were, and everything to do with that. So we appreciate you guys following and all of your support throughout this entire process.
How much does it cost when we're here from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
$0.00.
So there's no price for that? We're not adding
So yeah,
that?
unfortunately, I will tell you this from building my other company up. What I've learned is people don't see the sweat, tears, and endless hours that goes into developing and building up a process. It's always easier when things smooth out, but the process of building everything up and organizing them is a pain in the, what is that word?
Behind. So we'll see how it goes. You know, years down the line, someone will look at us and say, oh, you guys have it so easy.
Fingers crossed.
And if
we
you
don't
do want to
crash and burn.
So follow along our journey by subscribing to our channel, like this video, and we'll see you next week.
Don't forget the notification bell and our Instagram. Thank you guys.